There's a lot of characters that have been introduced from 1938 to now, and a lot of them have been forgotten. But there's a reason why Superman still persists.
Superman was created out of nothing. There were no superheroes. There was just Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster in Cleveland, Ohio, creating an alien character called Superman.
In 1938, in short, the world had never been a scarier or more unjust place. And at that time, the world's first superhero appeared on bookshelves. I don't think it's a coincidence that this guy became popular.
He's always that shining beacon of goodness and courage.
Truth, justice, and the American way. I mean, these are like spiritual ideas. These are ideas you can build a religion around.
Here we have an alien among us in Superman who represents the highest and best qualities of what we like to think of as humanity.
Why has Superman endured for so long? It's because those themes are undying, and so is he.
Superman has been through just about everything you can think of. 52 universes, evil versions of himself, bizarro versions of himself. He's died, very famously.
Superman Canada is so well known and so well documented in animation, in film, in television, in comics.
First connection I had to Superman growing up was the day I read my first Superman comic. It kind of taught you could do almost anything you wanted. If he could, why couldn't I?
My very first connection was the Max and Dave Fleischer Superman cartoons that I saw when I was very, very young.
They were done on a really elaborate scale for cartoons. They were very realistic and very cinematic.
I am and always will be a fan of the original TV series Adventures of Superman with George Reeves, because that's what I grew up with as a kid.
Aim's bad, Luigi.
The first Superman movie was Christopher Reeve. Really embraced the Superman I grew up with.
I read the script, and quite honestly, it was missing the humanity and its sense of reality. I decided to do it if they'd let me do a rewrite, and the reason I would do it was to protect Superman.
It played a huge part in my imaginative life. I actually have a scar on my chin right here. I jumped off the couch with a cape that said Super Kid on it, and I fell on my face.
For me, I grew up in the time of the great animated series.
I'm a huge animated series fan. I really like the Bruce Timm designs of Superman. Those angular characters are, I think, very unique.
One of the things that we decided to do early on, both to humanize Superman and also to kind of make the stories a little bit more interesting, is we did make him a little bit more vulnerable.
I love the Smallville version of Superman. I think Tom Welling did a really good job portraying Superman's innocence and the tension in him.
I think every major creator at some point wants to tackle and tell the Superman story.
It's an American fable, it's American history. Everybody wants to take a crack at it.
As a Superman fan, there's no greater feeling than getting the chance to contribute something, anything, to the legacy of the character.
It's difficult when you're dealing with, a character as powerful and iconic as Superman. It's like Sherlock Holmes. But just like with Sherlock Holmes, you can find new takes and new approaches that illuminate the essential truth of the character.
You know you're standing on the shoulders of giants that preceded you, so there is pressure to get it right and to tell a great story.
If you're true to your sort of North Star emotionally with it, if you go in there and say, I have something I'm really afraid of and I want this character to show me how to be brave in the face of this thing, you wind up doing something really original because it's personal.
Once you open the comics, you realize how deep this storytelling is, how much of it is based on the connections between people. I think the greatest Superman moment of all time is 5 panels in Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman. There is a woman on a ledge who's about to step off, and a strong voice behind her says, "You are so much stronger than you think you are."
The character usually drives the plot for me, and I just want people to feel the story. Introducing Jonathan Kent and the marriage with Lois Lane being his wife, that to me brought something completely new to explore.
At heart, they are really sort of simple stories. Superman is the immigrant that comes here and sees the best in us.
Different writers bring their passions. And as you go through the decades, you see different social justice issues being raised.
A good writer is looking at everything around him and looks at society and sees, what can you address?
We live in a society now where truth, justice, and the American way, these ideas are actually under siege. Looking at the world we live in and Superman's place in it, you realize that he's exactly the hero we need right now.
Boy, do we need Superman.
The great thing about the Superman universe is the breadth of it. Because Superman is a science fiction character, ultimately, the whole universe is open. So he's connected to things across time travel, the future, the past, through space travel, as well as to Earth and Krypton.
Kryptonian culture is something that has so much untapped potential.
Well, I think it's going to be really interesting to see the backstory of Superman's family. I mean, we basically know the story of Superman's parents fairly well, but the idea that there are family histories that extend beyond that, I think, is one that's rich for development.